Was there a single event that led to you being on the streets?
Pretty much so. I did 12 years service in the army. I came out with post-traumatic stress disorder, then set up my own business, and through the total stress I was found walking down a motorway the wrong way in just a pair of slippers, and 12 weeks later they said, "You can go now," and I came out of hospital and I literally had nowhere to go, so I ended up on the streets. You know, what started you off on?
I think I was in care for 16 years. From the age of 2, when I turned 18, I was put into a hostel. Didn't have no kind of life skills, no support, nothing like that. Been institutionalised most of my life, and I struggled in that environment. A lot of the people that lived in that environment were quite unhealthy people for me to be around.
Did you get addicted to certain substances?
Yeah, so from me first picking up a Class A substance, I was homeless on the streets pretty quickly after that. It was a matter of, I don't even think it was a month, and I remember sleeping in the back of a car park and kind of looking around thinking, wow, you know, this has happened really quick. From that point onwards, that's kind of how I ended up on the streets for 4 years.
Yeah, I did nearly 5 years on the streets myself. Describe the first night on the streets.
I can remember it quite clearly. So there was me and my 2 friends, and we slept in Toys R Us car park in Birmingham city centre, and I remember waking up at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and being absolutely freezing cold, sleeping on these concrete stairs, and it taking me so long to get back to sleep. And then I remember getting woken up by a security guard at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the guy was actually like kicking me in my sleeping bag. And when I woke up, someone had robbed my trainers as well. So I woke up with no shoes, and I remember having to walk through the city centre in the morning in my socks, and just thinking, wow, that was not a nice experience to have been through.
Very similar. I woke up one morning and someone had pinched one boot. I had a child's blanket to cover me that I'd found in a bin that actually someone had been sick on.
Oh God.
And I didn't realise, but I dragged it out the bin and I put it over me to keep myself warm.
I think for me that was the first proper point where I actually realised the things that up to that point I took for granted. So kind of those home comforts and having a roof over my head and being able to wake up in the morning and kind of go and make a cup of coffee or have a wash or brush my teeth. I think that morning when I woke up to that guy kicking me in that car park, I kind of realised then this is something completely different. Okay, the next one, where could you shower whilst homeless?
I used to actually go down to the canal, on Rochdale Canal, while I was in Manchester, and I'd wash down actually from the canal. And the other problem is, you know, toilets. There's no public toilets available to homeless people. Keeping yourself clean and tidy is something that is very difficult when you're on the street.
Were you ever attacked on the street?
Yeah, I remember being kicked, physically kicked in a sleeping bag when I came to Manchester, and hence they knocked my teeth out. I was scarred here and there, and I thought, you know, well, after all the time in the army, you know, I'd be used to the streets, but I wasn't, and it's a totally different life.
I got stabbed 8 times, and then also when people used to be out drinking, I mean, woke up in the morning, people had weed on us and just stuff like that.
At times I went down to a bridge under the canal, away from sitting on the streets and all you're seeing is a pair of legs walking past it all the time. I'd just get down there and hide away.
Yeah, I can relate to that. You know, I'd end up waking up and there'd just be hundreds of people around, and without even like anybody kind of even paying the slightest bit of attention to you. So I get that thing about sleeping somewhere at times that's away from all of that, so that isn't something you've got to deal with.
I can take a kicking on the streets, everybody does, but it's the verbal side of it that hurts you, you know. Get a job, get a job. You know, I'm 64 years of age and I've worked all my life. For the last 4 years, okay, I've been on the streets, and you probably had this yourself.
People kind of not seeing past that, the fact that I'm actually still a human being, I'm still a person, you know, I've got a story. All the guys that I was homeless with, rough sleeping for me had become the norm. That was a routine to me, that was what I knew, that was my safety blanket. You know, I slept through 4 winters on the streets where it was bitterly cold, and I'm sleeping outside in a sleeping bag. The majority of us either drank alcohol or used drugs. So it was an escape from reality. Like you said, it got me through those days when I was at my lowest points, when I was wake up in the morning suicidal. It made me feel further and further away from kind of society, when I really wanted to transition back into society, because for so much of my life I'd felt not part of it.
Yeah, that cycle is that you want help, but you don't know where to ask for the help at that time. You know, it's very, very difficult to find that.
Everybody has events during their life that lead them to a point where they become homeless. It could come from somebody coming into the country that can't claim benefits. It may be somebody with underlying mental health issues, you know, physical abuse, mental abuse, just somebody losing their job and you know, getting into financial difficulty. It could be quite difficult for someone to understand, well, why don't you just get off the streets? You know, there's plenty of hostels, or there's plenty of places around, but just putting somebody in 4 walls, from my experience and when I was homeless, it was a process over a period of time where I needed to start fixing these little things and doing this process to be able to turn my life around.
When I first got my accommodation, which I'm in now, I found it very difficult to paying bills and different things.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Okay, next one. What impact has being homeless had on your family?
Oh, a great deal. My eldest sister that reported me as a missing person, she still says that part of my life didn't happen. Well, sorry love, it did happen. Why didn't you tell us that you were in that state? And I'm like, well, how do you do that?
How'd you have that conversation?
Yeah. How do you do that? I just didn't know at the time how to do it.
I don't even know if my family, apart from my brother, knew that I was even homeless for that time, because since I've kind of had the conversation with my dad, and I don't even think he knew about it. I think it's more shocking for them now, and probably has a bigger impact now than it did back then. Okay, should people give change to the street homeless?
We work a lot now with different organisations, and we get asked this question all the time. We say it's personal choice, so if you don't want to give it to the person, donate it to one of them organisations.
I feel like maybe there's the misconception that everybody that's homeless is going to use that money because they're drinking or they're using drugs, which actually isn't the reality. There are plenty of people that rough sleep that actually do not drink and do not take drugs, and would not use that money to do that.
To just walk past someone and just say, okay, I've got nothing to give you today, but I hope you get through it. And you know yourself, Carl, that means a lot to someone when you're on the streets, just to say, oh, someone's realised I'm here.
Looking back, I feel without the opportunities that were placed into my path by the different organisations that were working with me at the time, I don't ever think that I would have got to this point. You know, I've got a partner, I've got a home, I've got my kids, I've got all, you know, I've got money in my pocket, you know, I've got a bed to sleep in tonight, my family have got peace of mind. I met my mum after 30 odd years, I'm back in contact with my dad. I've got my dream job, so I'm a drug and alcohol counsellor and I work with all the rough sleepers in Birmingham.
Very, very similar in the way that, you know, okay, I've got myself off the streets, I'm a qualified mentor, I've got a nice little one-bedroom bungalow now. I'm doing the street tours at the moment, and I've just actually had my book published with my poetry in, which the proceeds will be going back to homeless charities.
The opportunity to kind of get homelessness out there and keep it at the forefront of people's minds and what the issues are and how we can try and address them, that for me is a really important thing now.
Someone asked me, what do you get out of volunteering? I said, it's not what I get out of it, it's what I'm putting back into it.